Yo, what's up, 20 or so people that watch this video? I got bored, so I just decided to make a video explaining why, in my opinion, the Seabreeze is the best plane in the entire game. So, first of all, this thing does not have very many paywalls at all. All you need for it is... Actually, okay, I will admit it has a pretty big paywall. You need to at least have an MC, clubhouse, or a CEO so you can buy the hangar. And you need to have the hangar workshop. Actually, I don't even know you have to be an MC or CEO to use the hangar workshop or anything, but you definitely need it to do the hangar missions. But anyways, if you already have that stuff, this thing is extremely cheap. Very cheap for being, like, very best plane in the game. It's so cheap, in fact, you can buy it for $850,000, which is incredibly cheap. It's cheaper than that helicopter right over there, I'm pretty sure. So actually, I'm gonna check real quick. So that helicopter's been in the game since day one. Here's a Seabreeze, $850,000. Now let's look for the Maverick. Oh, the Mavericks is barely cheaper. But the Frogger is more expensive, and it's just a helicopter, and so is a Luxor, the Annihilator, Titan. I mean, if you're comparing the price of the Seabreeze to planes that can't even match it, like the Pyro, or the Nakota, or hell, even the Molotov, I mean, it's ridiculous how incredibly effective the Seabreeze is for how cheap it is. So, obviously this thing is very simple. It's a very simple plane to use. It's a very simple design. Actually, it's not a very simple design. It's actually pretty complex design. But, you know, the aerodynamics and center of thrust and stuff kind of bounce out on the wings. That's kind of how it's able to have a tail-mounted rotor, because it's pushing down, but the wings are kind of keeping it up, if you know what I mean. Because you can see they're kind of at like the same center of or the same center point right there. But that's kind of off topic. So, obviously, like I said, this thing is very simple. You can land it anywhere. It can obviously float on water, Seabreeze. Like, come on, if it doesn't float on water, I think Rockstar has some type of mental problems. But anyway, yes, it can float on water. It has landing gear, obviously, so it can go on land. And this thing is very easy to land. It is, in my opinion, the easiest plane in the game to land. It's so easy to land. And the landing gear is extremely tough, so you're never gonna break it off and be like slam into the ground. And speaking of toughness, it's one of the toughest planes in the game. Because, first of all, it's not that special compared to any other of the Smuggler's Run planes in terms of survivability from homing rockets and, you know, explosive shots. But if you really think about it, in a dogfight against maybe another machine gun wielding plane, you can't get pilot sniped out of this thing unless they're coming in from the side. Because I can't tell you how many times I've pilot sniped people in the B-11 or Rogue just from the top of the canopy, bullet going right into the head. But on this thing, clearly, can't do that. So, it has some protection from you being pilot sniped. Also, it has what I like to call a dynamic engine, and I'm pretty sure most propeller planes in the game, if not all, have a dynamic engine. So, what I mean by dynamic engine is, if you say this side gets shot up and it's smoking, the plane will still be fine. It will go on forever until the other side is smoking as well. Then you're gonna have to go repair. But anyways, I would recommend you repairing because, well, the plane can't glide, but I'm gonna talk about that more in a minute. But still, while on the topic of toughness, the plane can lose its brakes, and the effectiveness of slowing down will not be affected at all. It could lose an aileron. It will not be able to roll as good, but you're still able to dogfight. And what I find crazy about this thing is, if you get your elevator blown off, this thing right here, your elevator, from like an explosive shot or whatever, it can still pull up like nothing even happened. This thing is, if it gets blown off, you're fine. But if this gets blown off, your rudder, you're probably just gonna have to jump out, because when this thing loses its rudder, it will start flat spinning. And yeah, flat spinning is not good in this thing, considering it cannot glide. Now, most people say, yeah, it's an okay dogfighter, like the Gilly Master and stuff. They say it's an okay dogfighter, but I wouldn't recommend it in a dogfight because it doesn't have missiles or whatever. But these machine guns, they have longer range than the cannons on the jet, so you'll be able to shoot at them before they can even shoot at you. And if they're running away, you can easily just still shoot them with the machine gun. But anyway, most people don't really, how do I say this? They only look at like the stats on the plane, if you know what I mean. Like, they see how hard it turns, how fast it loops, rolls, whatever. It still is one of the best in all of those, but the Pyro and the Starling are better, only slightly. But this thing will still easily beat a Pyro, and you could, I mean, it's not as easy to beat a Starling, but I've never died to one before, and I've gone against some actual like skilled pilots in the Starling, like people that use the Starling all the time. I've gone up against them with this and still came out unscratched. So what people do is they only look at the numbers, like how hard is this plane turn? Is it turn harder than the Starling? And they're just looking at the numbers. They don't take into their head what actually goes down in the game. Because if you think about it, the only part a Starling can really hit are the wings, because the plane is so slim, small, and fast, and the Starling's guns are pretty spread out. They'll have a hard time hitting you. And like I mentioned before, it has a dynamic engine, so they're gonna have to damage both sides of your engine to get you down. It could easily get behind the Starling, because the Starling, it's a temporary boost. I mean, yeah, you can boost it all the time, but when you boost, your maneuverability goes down into Starling. And when you're not boosted, you're going slower and slower, so it makes it easier for me to aim the guns on the Starling, which the Starling does not have a dynamic engine. So every bullet counts on the Starling, and it will take it down within a few 15 minutes, I would say. This thing will always emerge victorious. Alright. So like I said, with dogfighting, it's just the same thing with the Starling. It's pretty much true for every single plane. And most people say that the laser would easily be able to beat this if you pull those special moves, which I have no idea what they are, but there are some moves that people can do that make it turn harder. But this thing, statistically, turns slightly harder than the laser and has higher acceleration. So if I could figure out how to do those moves, I could pull the exact same moves on a laser and get behind them with my superior maneuverability. And these machine guns, freaking, those YouTubers call them weak. While they can destroy a jet in what, like a second and a half of constant fire, they're very powerful and they'll one-shot you, or they'll two-shot you, if not one-shot you, like if they're actually, you know, hitting your character like this. Speaking of weapons, it has bombs, and it's the best bomber in the game, in my opinion. I mean, it's a tough competition between the Starling and the Seabreeze for bombing, in my opinion, because the Seabreeze is the fastest bomber in the game. Not counting the Starling's boost, because the Starling isn't always on boost. So this thing's bombing timing is gonna be way different than any of, you know, the normal smugglers run planes, which makes it unique, and it gives it more opportunities for ground attack with the higher speed. So there's plenty of strategies you can use, like since it has the higher speed, you'll be able to lob a bomb at a car much quicker than you would be able to do with a rogue, rather than just like chasing it down. You can kind of pull up and launch a bomb. You'll see it kind of like, you know, launch into the car and blow it up. So I would say this thing is like the superior bomber in the game. And that brings me to its convenientness, if I could say that. Convenientness. How else would I say that? I don't know, I can't think of it right now. But it's very convenient for doing any type of missions, really. Like I said, it has bombs. It can turn really hard, so if you miss a bomb, you could easily just turn around and get it again. You can make this thing go very slow, which makes it easier to, you know, land the bombs. And it's a two-seater. And when you're on missions, you'll probably have someone helping you do cargo, and most of the times the cargo is going to be in the water, depending on what you're doing. So one guy gets in the water, gets the cargo, you jump out, go get the cargo, boom, you're off. Or if it's on land, you have landing gear, you can land on, well, land simply. I mean, this thing is so tough. I've slammed it into buildings going its top speed, and it's just barely smoking on one of the sides of the engines. It's so tough. It's so tough it can survive the orbital cannon, which I think most of you would know about the Seabreeze orbital cannon thing. But in case you don't, you can go upside down in water. Make sure it's like far out in the ocean, first of all, so no one snipes you out of it, and secondly, so you don't get near someone's yacht and the waves will go away, because the waves are basically keeping you alive while you're upside down in the water. But what that does is it cuts your vehicle health to 0, but you're still alive in it, so there's no possible way for the vehicle health to go lower. So it's invincible from like any bullets, explosives, orbital cannons, jets, whatever. You cannot kill it while it's upside down in the water. But the vehicle is still technically destroyed, so you're not going to be able to just start it up again and fly out. So, that being said, there is one of my favorite features about this plane, and that is the freaking speed glitch. Oh my god, the speed glitch. So basically, most people don't even know about the speed glitch. I think it works with the B11 too, but it's harder to do with the B11, or harder to get the B11. But anyway, if you go into a certain session, I think it's like certain like laggy sessions or whatever, and if you go above 1 bar altitude, you know, on your map, your plane would just start rapidly accelerating. I'm pretty sure this is like one of the only planes it works with. And yeah, it'll just start rapidly accelerating, and it will just keep going. Like your game will lag frantically, and the speed glitch will know it won't work once you're going like below the first altitude bar. So when you're getting pretty low to the ground, it will actually stop working. But until the plane gets destroyed or whatever, you can just go climb back up to that altitude, and the speed glitch will happen again. And another thing, this is also, I wouldn't say it's one of the only planes, but it's one of the few planes in the game that can dodge the Mark II missiles and Deluxo, whatever. Because it's fast, has high acceleration, and maneuverable. So yeah, it can easily take care of those, and it has countermeasures, by the way. I didn't mention that already. I would say the best PvP countermeasures for this thing would be chaff, and if you're using it for PvE, like doing missions or whatever, I would put flares. So yeah, that's pretty much all I want to say. I guess I can prove to you about that rudder, or not rudder, elevator thing, but not even being the, or not even having to be on the plane. See, I knocked off the rudder, so probably not gonna have a good time. I guess I can also show you how quick it could take off, but I don't think I damaged the engine at all. Yeah, but I can't tell. Yeah, the engine's slightly damaged, but look, just took off without elevators. It's going up and down perfectly fine. So, yeah, literally get this thing blown off. I don't have rudders anymore, so I have to be careful, because if I pull a hard move or whatever, I'll show you real quick. This starts happening. I'm not doing this right now, it's spinning out of control. Usually the only way to counteract this is by rolling until it goes straight. But most of the time you're just going to want to bail out of the plane. But like I said, it has a dynamic engine, so you see one side is completely black smoke. But this side over here, the left side, is completely fine. So you can keep flying forever until, you know, that side gets damaged or whatever. Which reminds me, when the engine cuts out, this thing cannot glide, and that's like one of the only cons on this thing, is it cannot glide. For sure there is a way to counteract the ability not being able to glide, and that is going knife flight like this and using your rudders to kind of direct it, you know, if your engine's dead or whatever. You can still sort of glide, but it just, this plane cannot glide at all. Aside from that method I just told you. But yeah, I'm gonna try to see if I can put some footage in of the speed glitch. I think I have one video. But anyway, this is why I think the Seabreeze is the best plane in the game. Thanks for watching, lads. Alright guys, well, here's some pretty recent footage of me in the Seabreeze speed glitch. You can tell I'm going super quick just by looking at the map. Oh my god. But anyways, I forgot to mention one view, or a I can't speak right now, it's late. One other thing about the Seabreeze, and that is, because it's a propeller plane, a good pilot will know to listen for a jet if, like, you're off radar or whatever and he cannot see you. A good pilot, if someone's in a jet, he will be listening for a jet engine. But since you're going to be in a propeller plane, if you're using a Seabreeze, he can't hear you, so you can just easily sneak up behind him unless he sees your lights, and that kind of bounces out the jet engine thing. You can't hear the Seabreeze, but you can see it. But you can definitely hear the jet, but it's hard to see because, you know, jets don't have lights. Aside from the B11, that thing is just it just sticks out like a sore thumb. But the B11 is one of the most overpowered planes in the game, so it doesn't really matter. But anyway, just enjoy the rest of this footage of me going light speed across a few people. So yeah, later, for real this time.